Let's look at how the man-in-the-middle attack works for Diffie Hellman. If you haven't already watched the Diffie Hellman video, I suggest you watch that first. And just to remind you of how Diffie Hellman works. So Alice calculates g to the a mod p, sends it to Bob. Bob calculates g to the b mod p, sends it to Alice. And then they're both able to calculate g to the ab mod p, and that is their shared key that they will use, for example, using one of the symmetric key ciphers. So here's how the picture is altered when we have a man in the middle. So the man in the middle intercepts the message that Alice was trying to send to Bob, and the man in the middle also intercepts the message that Bob was trying to send to Alice. The man in the middle establishes a shared key with Alice by using the man in the middle's exponent of t. The man in the middle also establishes a shared key with Bob using the man in the middle's exponent of t. So let's work out a concrete example using small numbers just so that our calculations are easy. So in the previous video, we used p equals 5, that's our prime number. G equals 2, that's our generator. These were both public. Alice's exponent was 2. Bob's exponent was 3. These are our private keys. But now, t equals 4 will be the private key for the man in the middle. Let's see how this attack unfolds. So Alice sends g to the a mod p to Bob. So as we calculated in the last video, we get 4, and that's what Alice sends to Bob. However, the man in the middle intercepts and performs the same function, so the generator 2, the man in the middle's exponent 4 mod 5. So the man in the middle performs that calculation. In this case, we get 1. Sends the result back to Alice. Alice now performs the calculation and thinks that the shared key is the generator 2 and the exponent will be the product of Alice's private key and the intruder's private key. So that's 2 to the 8th, which is 256, mod 5 is 1. So now Alice thinks that the shared symmetric key is going to be 1. Meanwhile, Bob sends g to the b mod p to Alice. In this case, it's 2 cubed. Mod 5 is 8, which is 3. So that's what Bob sends to Alice. But now the man in the middle intercepts and calculates g to the t mod p. And that calculation gives us 1, and that's sent to Bob. And so now the shared key is going to be the generator to the power of the product of the two exponents. In this case, the exponents are b and t. So that's 2 to the 12th, which is 4096, which is 1 mod 5. Now, of course, it's just a coincidence that we got the same shared key for both Bob and Alice, and that's because the numbers are so small that some of the numbers will repeat. But in general, the number that will be sent to Bob and the number that's sent to Alice will be different. So here are the steps in the attack. The intruder establishes shared keys with both Alice and Bob. Alice has a message M that she'd like to send to Bob. She encrypts the message using the shared key that was established not with Bob, but with the man in the middle. Because the shared key was established with the man in the middle can decrypt the message using this key. Now finally, the man in the middle re-encrypts the message, sends the message off to Bob using the key that the man in the middle established with Bob, which is G to the BT mod P, and then sends the re-encrypted message off to Bob. Bob is able to read that message and thinks everything is fine. He might send a message back to Alice using the same process. And in each case, the man in the middle is able to read what Alice is sending to Bob and what Bob is sending to Alice.